Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the TEW 2016 Challenge Run. We are here for SmackDown and 205 Live, and without any further ado, let's just get it underway. It's just a quick tag team pre-show match I did. Nothing really important here, it's just get people on the show, get them improving, testing chem, all that. The actual show starts with the gay mug. He comes down and he explains, due to injuries suffered at the hands of He wouldn't credit to Ali and kayfabe. It would just be, due to injuries, Samoa Joe has to be removed from the Elimination Chamber. He will be replaced, as coming up next to open tonight, we will host a 10-man battle royal. The winner of that match will take his spot in the Elimination Chamber. He's then interrupted by WWE Champion Daniel Bryan and his intellectual peer, Rowan. Bryan laughs and asks, did Joe dip out of the match because he realised he was too big to fit into the pods? And Triple H is like, Bryan, if I were you, I wouldn't mock Samoa Joe. But Bryan, he ignores him and just continues to slag off Joe. And he's like, oh, if he'd have done what I did and just changed his diet and lived a vegan life, he'd still be in the match because he knew he'd be big enough, he'd be small enough to fit in the pods. But Bryan says he'll humour the replacement and he'll stay at ringside and he watches the Battle Royal up next, so he'll take Joe's spot. And the Triple H cuts it off and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, Bryan, because you have a match in the main event to prepare for, against, the new United States Champion, EC3. So yeah, we're going to get champion versus champion in the main event. And then the Battle Royal to take Joe's spot gets a B. That's actually pretty good. It's Big E, Cesaro, Eric Young, Kofi, R-Truth, Rusev, Sheamus, Shelton, Shinsuke, and Xavier Woods. And it's won by Shinsuke Nakamura. Final four were R-Truth, Big E, and Rusev. R-Truth was the last elimination. Rusev got the most. Okay, so what I see this one as would have been Shinsuke and Rusev teaming up to take down everyone else in the match. They'd have obviously beaten up R-Truth, so that's why he lasted till the end. So the final three would have been Rusev, Nakamura, and Truth. And then they were going to work together to try Truth and then see who the better man was one-on-one, but Shinsuke would have thrown Rusev out before and then had just him and Truth left in the ring, and Truth would have put up a good fight, but Shinsuke would have won in the end, and Shinsuke is now the man who will take Joe's spot in the Elimination Chamber. We come back from what would have been a commercial break to see Kyrie and Neo already in the ring as the Iconics come out, and they're like, oh, all these tag teams, I think they're better than us, mate, but we are been best friends for a decade, and we know each other like the back of our hands and better than all these other tag teams in this women's division, which means, mate, that those titles, they pretty much may well just give them to us now, because when it comes to the chamber, we are going to dominate the other 5 women, and those titles will look the best around our waists, and we'll make our first step in making the tag team division iconic. As they get in the ring and get battered by Kyrie and Neo. And yeah, just this is going along well. The 6 teams now well and truly established, and we'll see who the best team will be on the night. Well, there'll only be one person from each team in the game, but in headcanon it's both the teams. Anyway, the Clones are in the ring, and then Shane McMahon and The Miz come out. And then we hype up their entrance as we wonder, can the co-besties coexist and get back to winning ways after their slip-up when Shane cost The Miz his match against Jimmy Uso last week? We'll find out coming up next in what is the gay match of the show. And Miz gets the win over Primo no Epico Cologne. Just a quick win because they needed to get the bounce back after we need to somewhat keep them looking strong. So, best way to do it is to have them beat the Colognes. Hype video for Women's Champion Asuka, who will return to in-ring action next week on SmackDown. Nothing else really to say about that one. We then have a segment. Rey Mysterio is backstage and he's approached by Andrade and Zelina Vega. Zelina's like, Andrade is looking forward to when he can beat you over and over again at Elimination Chamber. And that Rey needs to watch what Andrade is going to do to AJ Styles in the next match. Because once that's happened, it'll be a teaser for how Andrade is going to beat Rey about 10 times in 30 minutes at the Elimination Chamber. We get that match and it gets a 86B+. Because of course it does, because look who's involved. AJ gets the win over Andrade. Wipe him forward. It says Superstar Slash, will just do normal. And it was Rey distracted Andrade during the match to help AJ get the win. Not a really in-depth show this week, kind of just a cool-down show after last week. It's very match-heavy. This one, whereas the last one was, we had a lot of important angles. This one is Rusev and Shinsuke in the back, and they are saying that Rusev's not angry at Nakamura for eliminating him during the Battle Royal, and that they're pleased that R-Truth is no longer the US champion. But this isn't where it ends, because Rusev vows that he will defeat EC3 and once again become the new 4-time United States champion. Whereas they have faith that Shinsuke will take the spot here and go on to be victorious inside the Elimination Chamber. So Shinsuke will be the WWE champion and Rusev will be once again the US champion. And then we get the main event of Braun and EC3 in an 82B. And it's EC3 defeats Daniel Bryan when Rusev attacked him, and also Nakamura ran and attacked EC3. So they sort of are still aligned, as we see in the next segment, when this didn't actually do as good as I thought it was going to do. Rusev and Shinsuke, they team up on EC3 as Bryan retreats up the ramp, but also as Bryan's at the top of the ramp and Shinsuke's in the ring, he sort of turn to him and give him a wink, sort of like, because he's now in the chamber and he's going to come for Bryan's title, but he's just helping Rusev get the upper hand on EC3. So yeah, again, not a very in-depth show, fairly simple show to get through this week for SmackDown. Gets an 84B+ though. And I'll pause here and I'll see you later on, or in just a second for you, for 205 Live. And we're back for some more Cruiserweight action here for 205 Live, which starts off with Drake Maverick in his office. He says that after Tozawa's victory last week, he's the new number 1 contender and he'll face Buddy Murphy at the Elimination Chamber for the Cruiserweight title. But he has been thinking some things over, and he does agree that the roster for 205 Live needs to be a bit stronger and more in depth. So, over the next few weeks / months, there's going to be more new faces integrated onto 205 Live to help improve the show and freshen the format up slightly. Our opening match is Drew Gulak defeating Lince Dorado by submission with the Gulak. This is after last week, of course, where him and Ariya Daivari wanted to end the Lucha House Party, and that continues with the next segment here. Daivari and Gulak beat up on Lince Dorado, who's in peril until his friend Grand Metalik storms out from the back and makes the save and sends Daivari and Gulak packing as the faces stand tall. Speaking of the Lucha House Party, Kalisto has lost to TJP. If you're expecting Kalisto to do a lot of anything and pick up any kind of win, I don't know what to tell you, but this should be a good indication of where Kalisto's trajectory will be on the path here on 205 Live, as he's beaten in 12 minutes by TJP by submission, and we have no improvements, and that's about it for that match. Then have the main event following their altercation last week. Jack Gallagher I mean, they have great chemistry, but it didn't save the finish that I put in. But it's okay, because that one could also work. It's actually a really good match. Jack Gallagher and defeated Brian Kendrick, found on tight, so this is something I can definitely come back to later on. With a 61 seed, it's probably the best match in 205 Live, apart from... Wait, did that Kalisto and PJP match just get better than that? Anyway, the finish was, after Gallagher last week rejected Kendrick's offer, because Kendrick said he had found the next best thing on 205 Live and his days with Gallagher were over. Gallagher himself has found someone. That someone being, of course, Flash Morgan Webster, a fellow UK gentleman who hasn't got a picture saved yet. But Webster and Gallagher would obviously beat up Kendrick after the match to cement themselves as an alliance going forward here on 205 Live. And again, like always, 205 Live not the most in-depth show. Apparently didn't have enough women on the show because Mike and Maria weren't here this week. So that means Maria's got to be booked every single week because I need the woman, and she's the only woman on 205 Live. Or I can just give someone else a valet, I'm not sure. I'll think about it. But yeah, just like usual, 205 Live, quick hour-long format, very in-ring focused, so not going to take too much time, just like SmackDown didn't really this week. And we'll see you next time for week 3 of Raw.